Hi, I'm so excited to welcome you back to the Coffee Man Podcast Season 2. I'm your host, Sasha Šestić, coffee entrepreneur, world barista champion, and also the coach of 5 WBC finalists, including the first female WBC champion, Agnieszka Rojewska, and also just recently, the first African WBC finalist, Martin Shabaya. In this season, I've sat down with extraordinary guests to talk everything coffee competitions. You will learn from my experiences and the mistakes as we share the valuable lessons we've learned on the way towards the world stage. If you've ever been intrigued by what happens before the world stage, where to start, and how to get there, you are in the right place. So wherever you are in the world, sit back with a cup of coffee and enjoy conversation with us. Once again, welcome. Very exciting episode today. I'm actually super excited to talk to our next guest, world cupping champion, our dear friend Charlie Chu. And it's gonna be, I'm actually first of all, very grateful that you managed to find some time in your busy schedule. I can see that you have been really busy lately to be a guest, and I'm really looking forward diving in a little bit more depth about you, how you came to Australia, why you decided competing, and also what's next. So welcome to the Coffee Man Podcast. It's season 2. We're talking about competitions, and this is episode number 3. Once again, welcome, Charlie. If you can, if you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, maybe your background as well, and I'd love to touch base more on life before coffee. You're growing up and all of these things.
Okay. Hi guys. I'm Charlie Chu, who is the 2021 World Cup Tasting Champion. Before the World Cup Taste Champion, I was the barista of Ona in the Melbourne team. Before that, I used to work in St. Ali, and before I used to work in St. Ali, I was just normal barista in Melbourne. In 2016, I came to Australia, Melbourne, to become barista to get experience. Before I became the barista, I was the professional military soldier, because my duty on the times was protecting the president of South Korea, as I majored in security service in university for 4 years before I became the professional soldier. And before I joined in the university, I was just high school and middle school, primary school, all I was in Busan, which is the city where I was born. And now I'm back to Busan after the competition, and I'm going to work with the company is called the Momos. They have been the 15 years since they opened up, and they are doing the specialty coffee industry. They are working for that, like Ona. So recently it's decided to get in the Momos team. So I'm preparing for getting ready for work in Momos. So I'm really glad to be invited to the show, for podcast of the Kyoungha Charlie. So I'm pleasure to talk about the coffee and competition and myself too. So I'm excited now. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for giving us a bit of within few minutes snap of your life, of your very exciting journey. I'm very interested to find out from you in a little bit more depth the time where you were working in military, and it's a very big career change to work in military and to be protecting president. And then moving to the coffee. But what are the things that attracted you in the first place to do that as your job?
When I was majoring in, when I studied the security service, I thought protecting someone is very worth it to do in my life. So I thought it would be the right for me. So, but I didn't have any experience, right? So I didn't really realize that these jobs will be the right for me or not. But during the university, I just studied very hard, and it was the dream and goal. So I just focused on studying and getting into all the eligibilities to be professional security service agent. So the Korean people have to do the military service or private soldier service or professional the military agent, whatever you want to be. But the professional soldier has to do the military, the period for longer than the private service. So I chose the professional soldier because the protecting security, the president is professional stuff. So you have to be professional soldier. Otherwise, it's really hard to be. So I choose that, and I had to do it. So I chose to be in that team, and I achieved it. But unfortunately, after I joined the team, I realized that the job wasn't right for me. So I was really disappointed, and I lost the dream, which that I had for 4 years in university. It was quite frustrating, and I was really sad.
So what made you more sad? Like, what was the most frustrating thing for you at that time?
Maybe I think at the times I realized that I need some reasons to do what I need to do, but military things like it's kind of forcing you to do it because you don't need the questions because you have to follow it, obey. You don't need your thought because you have to move, you have to do something for the team and also the president, which is VIP, very important person. So you are not very important. You are sort of just the number of the someone to do the job. So that part is really wasn't right for me. So I need to do something. I wanted to do something I want to do, and has a reason to do. So that's why I started looking for what I like to do in my life for the next steps after the military service. So I had a time for 4 years. So I took it like the very long times to prepare for the next step. So I use the times for myself. After I finish work, I just focus on getting the new dreams. And I realized that I used to love to go to the cafes. So I thought I just came up with the ideas of what if I open up a coffee shops in Korea. So, oh, that's nice. And coffee shops that sell the coffee. Then of course I need to maybe study coffee. So I just started studying coffees, and I really thought, oh, this is really deep things, and there are lots of things to study, and it's quite worth. So I just kept studying the coffee theories. And when I finished all the coffee theories, maybe I thought, oh, it's enough to read the books, and maybe it's time to do the practical things. So I just went around many coffee shops for the businessmen and wants to get the advice, and if I can take any chance to work there after I finish work, maybe for free, doesn't matter. I just needed the experience, but people didn't accept it because it's quite burdensome things to the small business people. So okay, I got it. And I went to the coffee academy, but I realized that it's not that deep things, like there are not much things to learn. So I just quit it. And I found that someone can teach me. So one of the teachers in Korea, he really gave me lots of advice. And why don't you think about going overseas, because you are a young man and there are lots of things in overseas about the coffee. You will learn many things, just not from only Korea. So I opened my eyes and I thought about the overseas the coffee, and Melbourne was one of the cities I could choose. So I chose the Melbourne, and I just study English as well as the coffee. And
So what year did you come to Melbourne?
2016 April.
So 2000, and so by the time 2016, you've done some trainings in Korea. You did not necessarily have coffee experience in the coffee shops, and you obviously came to Melbourne. But I'm sure there's many things that you have learned from your previous career that are very useful, that made you who you are today. Working as a soldier, and maybe what are these positives or these things that have influenced you as a person, that have obviously helped you to even become a world champion. And I can imagine being in the army, it's very strict, it's very disciplined, and there a lot of respect and a lot of hard work. But I'd love to hear from you, what are the, like, for example, 2 or 3 main things that you've learned?
I think one of the biggest things is endurance, like patience. So I learned the life goes with something always that you don't want to do as well as the why you want to do. So there are lots of things you don't need to do. You don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So just give up yourself sometimes, and you will learn the sacrifice, and the life that doesn't always go, as what you like. So I think through the times, myself being very strong, mentally and physically. So no matter how hard things there is, I always imagine of the times, this reminiscent the times in military things can make myself overcomes everything. So it makes me really, strong. Yes.
Resilience, strong. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sasha will know it because you also used to be a sportsman. So
yeah,
it's very important.
No, it's great. I think it's really nice that you can kind of take the positives from what you've done before, and help you. And I can see a lot of that resilience. We're gonna talk about your crazy, insane resilience. When it comes down to, especially after you won Australian competition, and then a lot of things have happened between Australia and WBC. But we'll touch that in about 10-15 minutes. So we'll leave that on the side. So I want to go back to Melbourne. So you arrived to Melbourne, you're in St. Ali, or you found your first jobs. And but before we kind of talk about it, you mentioned that you enjoyed coffee because you went to coffee shops. Was there a moment where you decide, wow, I actually want to do coffee, or that was gradually happening? And if there was a moment, what was the moment for something to click in you to say, yeah, I want to do this?
Yeah, the loss of the duties, you stand up for a long time if you the security agent, because normally nothing happens, right? But always you need to secure the space and the place the VIP leaves or goes. So I always stay some sports for a long time. That means that you have a heaps of time to think about something, because it's quite boring. You stand up for, without thinking. So you will think a lot. So I've been thought lots of times, spend lots of times what I want to do and what I like. And I just came up with the idea, like, because I really used to love go to the cafes, and in my free time, no matter who I meet, even myself, when I have my own time, I just go to cafe. In university, when I study the English, whatever, used to go to cafe. So I wanted to offer the space, which is cafe, to the people. Then, I might be happy. It was just the first idea. But coffee shops, the tips of the coffee shop in Korea are really competitive. You need to be realistic too. So you need to be professional something. If you want to do something, then I believe I need to be professional to succeed or to be satisfied. So yeah, that's why the first reason I started studying coffee. And
it was started with being social. It's not necessarily the flavor or the taste at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then taste and flavor developed. Do you remember your first most memorable coffee that made you think, you started getting obsessed with the flavor? Was that experience in Korea or that was in Australia?
Well, in Korea, so when I found the teacher, I call him the coffee teacher in Korea. So the teacher, when he gave me the coffee, it was the filter coffee that in my first time that the tasted filter coffee. I think it was the Ethiopian, the natural, the Kyoungha the coffees, and it's very typical the stories for everyone's to get in the coffee love. Yeah, it's because it was very exceptional. The coffee in comparison with other Americano or long black, it was quite different. So I realized that this is coffee, and I really got into the filter coffee too. That's why I opened up my mind for the first time, and the second time in Melbourne. I already tasted lots of the filter coffee, but I realized that when I work as a barista, when I go to the cafe, always taste the opinion about the coffee flavor and taste is all different. It's very subjective that as I felt from the people, and everyone was quite all different, random. Sometimes they don't know what they taste coffee, something like. So I thought it gave me the questions that why it happens and how I want to do, what should I do. So I realized that I need to improve my sensory skills to be objective, to have my own standards to tell the coffee and to enjoy coffee. And I look up all the sensory skills stuffs, and I found that there is the competition, the cup tastes, which is that using the triangulation, the test. So I used to look up lots of the information about the cup tastes, triangulations, and I found that, the ways, and I learned from Alicia. Alicia is, what is it, Kalia, the coffee's owner now. But she used to be in St. Ali too, and we are colleagues. So at the times, the 2019, she was the competing, the World Cup, the national competition. So I asked her to demonstrate how to practice the triangulation that she showed me after the competition, and I started doing by myself. Yeah.
Wow. So it's incredible, Charlie. Like you came across cup tasting competition for the very first time back in 2018. Is that correct? 2018, 2019?
2019 February I started training, and 2019 October it was Southern Regional championship.
So, all right. So now we are in 2019 February. You decided to train, and the reason you decided to train obviously is to improve your skills. And when you started training, what was your training like? Did you, obviously Alicia helped a lot, as you mentioned, but I'd love to understand it. At what level do you believe you were at when it comes down to cupping? Like if you have 8 cups, how difficult were you setting us these cups, and what was your success rate? Because you're one of the very few people that did not even know that competition exists, and 2 years later you became world champion, which is impressive, and I think it can be inspiring for many people to really kind of hear your story. So I'd love to know how was your training protocol, and what level were you at the beginning?
In the beginning, to be honest, I thought I will be able to use the correct 8 with the single origin cups, but it was more difficult than I was expected, because I already tasted lots of the filter coffee, so I had quite confidence, but I realized that my sensory is unstable and irregular, inconsistent. So I just practiced with the single origin first until I correct all the 8 of the single origin coffee. For example, Ethiopian natural and Kenya washed coffee, very easy. But even though it's very easy, when you do the one time and when you do 8 times, the accuracy is not always 8. It's very interesting. Unless you have your own very strong standard, then you will correct all the times 8. But it's sometimes because coffee always keep changing from hot to cold, and depends on how much coffee is in the cup, and its temperature and everything is it makes always exceptional the possibility. So can incorrect. So I just got through all the times realizing, oh, there's always the possibilities can be missed. So I record everything like how I mix the coffees and how I make the coffees. So depends on how you make the sets. The possibility was always different.
So for our listeners that are not 100% familiar with the cupping championships, so the way it works is that we have a two same coffees and one coffee is different, and the competitor needs to pick the different cup and put that cup forward, and then there's 8 different sets of this. So as Charlie was mentioning, so your first set of training is you would kind of go for very obvious coffees. As an example, 2 washed natural process Ethiopians, as well as maybe one natural profile Brazil. And even though you have all of these same coffees, depending of the temperature, depending of how they cool, and also your palate, even though you're tasting the same coffees, as you taste it, go from first set, second set, all the way to the 8th set, it gets harder and harder. So obviously your goal was to make this really obvious, maybe easy, if you can say, or easier coffees, to make sure that that's perfected, right? And I remember when we were in Milan, you were telling me about your stages of cupping. So that possibly would be something like your stage 1, right? Or maybe the easiest way of training. Do you mind just maybe taking us through a bit more intense level of trainings, like the things that you were doing between February when you decided to compete, and also all the way up until Australian competition, which was back in 2019, correct?
National?
No, regional, Australian regional competition, or Victorian.
October, yeah.
October 2019. So for these 8 months, what are the most maybe significant things that you have done to help you prepare yourself to get to that level?
I think there are two big coffee sensory competition, the events. One of that happened in March, which is the time was that it's been 1 month since I started training. Yeah. But I won the competition. There were the 32 competitors. I won the coffee event, tasting event. It was a triangulation, but with 4 sets. I corrected all the 8 from the events, and I won. I got the Mocha Master as well, the first Mocha Master, mine. And I got the confidence from that event because even though it's been just 1 month, I've done that 1 month, but it was worth. So what I'm doing is correct. It's not wrong things. So I'm going right. So I just boosted myself to keep pushing myself into the training times. And I got the coffee events. It wasn't triangulation protocol, but it was the 2 cups there on the table. And you see the sample like Ethiopian wash, then you have to choose the Ethiopian wash. You push forward and you have to do the 5 times with diverse coffees. And so the speed is the second priority, and the first priority is accuracy. It was the protocol. It was tournament protocol. There were also 32 competitors, and I won the competition. So I got confidence again. And then in 2 months later, there was the regional competition. So maybe I've practiced a lot of times, and also some rewards in the middle of the way until the competition, the stage. I already got some experience on the stage as well. So maybe it helped me to be more confident on the stage too, even though it's first my experience of the competition, the stage.
So the hardest intensity of training for your regional competition,
when you were preparing your coffees, like when you prepare your coffees for first round or first row, second row, and on and on and on. How did you prepare these coffees? Did you use different single origins, or maybe you use some blends? I'd love to know, like, what was that intensity of Charlie's level, if you can call it?
I've tried everything, but when I realized I'm growing up, when I told single origin is always 8, then I just move on to the blend. So I don't use the blend is already as a product. So I just mixed single origin and to make the blend. For example, if you use the 60 grams of coffee with 1 liter for one batch brew, then I will need 4 or 6 batch brew, batch times. Then it will become 6 liters or 4 liters. But if it's less than that, just let's say it's easily. And 60 grams, if you use sample A, B, C, D, all the same coffee, it becomes a single origin. But if you put maybe 50 grams of the Brazil natural coffee as a base in each pot, then it becomes all the 50 grams, it will be the same coffee. But if you make the difference with 10 grams of different coffees, then it becomes a different coffee. So I use that way. So 10 grams maybe Ethiopian washed, and 10 gram Ethiopian natural, 10 gram Colombia natural, or something like that. Then it's much harder than just doing the single origin. And then you make a batch brew with those samples, and you mix the coffees, and you make the sets, different sets, A, B, B, C, whatever you want. Then when you taste the coffee with the blind test, is very hard. So maybe for the first time, you might correct just 2 or 3 sets. But that's, to be honest, objectively, it's not your level. It's because below half of the accuracy means that it's the threshold, you can't reach the level, so which means very hard for you at that stage. So I just told my level, always check my level. With this sample, it's really hard. Or with this sample, for me, the accuracy is quite high. So I just put all the record and I choose the level depending on my level.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that will be useful for many people. So what you're saying is, if you keep getting A out of 8 with your single origins, move up the level. Use a certain coffee as you blend, maybe, and then add coffee B. But then also when you're doing these sort of protocols, and if you possibly get only 1 or 2 coffees out of 8, that level is really high for you. So make it possibly a little bit easier. So when you're starting that level, you're starting with possibly 4 out of 8 or 5 out of 8. And that's a really good baseline to spend quite a bit of time on that level till you get it perfected, and then make it harder and harder and harder. Yeah, I think this is one of the advantages, Charlie, that you have been in the industry for such a short time, or at least, if I can say, in competitive way. And I think with your background and having that resilience and being measured, and I'm sure in the army everything was laid out to that perfection. There's a system, there's a structure for everything, and using that brain and that experience that you had, and seeing how that can be, I guess, beneficial for you in a competition arena. Like it's inspiring for many of us, because I've heard about cupping competitions. I have not been involved that much, but every time when I talk to you, you really inspire me to start practicing cupping. Not necessarily, and it's a great skill, because some people wish to compete and some people don't wish to compete. But I think what you're doing with your way of why you decided to compete for the first time, it's to make coffee less subjective, and you're gonna make it less subjective if you're competing in a competition that's less subjective, because it's either right or wrong with what you do, and also having your internal systems that you can keep pushing yourself and keep making it harder and harder and harder with your levels. I did talk to you about making that little book about cupping, or whether it's a book or guide. I'm still going to keep pushing you to do it because I think it would be very useful for a lot of people in the industry. So anyone that's listening, make sure that you contact Charlie on Instagram and keep hassling him to write that book about cupping. Because I think you have something that's very valuable that can be shared with rest of the industry. So thank you for sharing this insight. It's really cool. But I do want to mention I've never asked you that before. You obviously worked with Centrally. Alicia was doing amazing job with Centrally. We're super lucky, super fortunate to work with her in Melbourne. In amazing place. I think one of the best hospitalities I've ever experienced in my life is her little beautiful cafe. And but I met you when you already were working with Ona Coffee in Ona Melbourne, but I've never asked you, why did you join Ona Coffee? When you decided to work with us, what was that main reason that you wanted to come across and work with us?
Oh, Ona was already very well-known coffee brands in Melbourne as well. And at the times, I was working St. Ali, but because of the COVID, since the March of the 2020, I couldn't kept working at St. Ali because as all the full-time workers that was working, and just a few number of people, and then all the casual part-time people, and they couldn't work. So many foreign peoples, the international peoples that went back to their country, and I was just wasn't sure how I should do this, but because I already got through the regional competition and I had to stay in Melbourne, and also I didn't want to go back to Korea at the moment at the time. So I was very struggling with the lives, and Ona Melbourne opened up in June when the lockdown a little bit released in the middle of the times, and I went to the Ona, and the Jessica Lambie was working there, and Jessie also used to work at St. Ali together, and she asked me why don't you apply for the jobs then Ona Melbourne. So I thought are you guys hiring? And she said, yeah, why not? You just try applying. And then she gave me the reference. So as a reference, I just tried it because I wasn't working at Ali, even though I belong to Ali. So I was also very frustrated, and Ona gave me the opportunity. So I just joined the Ona Coffee because I also thought it's really great opportunities to be, and also the Devin and other people's how they work and how they say that something like looks very professional and also very looked warm and kind. So I like the people rather than the coffee itself. So I chose the Ona Coffee, because of the people. Because the people's the vibe and personality, how they act is something like very, it's very, very different to the where I used to work. So so there was the main things that I made the decision.
All right, so let's move forward now. The Australian competition started. You won Australian competition, perfect 8 out of 8 in every round. Very fast, very comfortable. That was great. Then there was a COVID and delays, and then finally the World Barista and World Coffee events were announced for Barista Championships, for brewers, as well as cupping in Milan. And for many people, was sort of struggle to see, hey, can they travel? Can they not travel with the COVID situation? But for you, it was extra difficult because with the visa you had a lot of difficulties, not necessarily leaving the country and going to compete, but coming back to Australia. So maybe if you can share with everyone what's happened, why there were issues, and more importantly, how that all made you feel.
Yeah, because I don't have a permanent residency, so that I have an international student visa, but Australia borders been closed since the March 2020 because of COVID. So once you go out from Australia, then you cannot come back. There was the rules being very strictly kept. So I had to make a decision to go to compete and go back to Korea. Otherwise, I have to skip the World Championship this time. But I've been already practicing for the last 3 years, that which is really long for training triangulations. I realized that it's really difficult to keep maintaining for the competition only. So I didn't practice because of only competition, but it was very important competition as well in my life. So it's my first experience, and I need to make the choice, and I chose to compete. Otherwise, I would regret. That's what I felt. So I got through all the steps, and also one of the reasons is my coffee career started from the Melbourne, so I don't have any experience in Korea. So I wondering as well how it will be in Korea if I work in the coffee industry in Korea. So everything was unsure before the competition. So I just have to make a decision. I made a decision. Once I made a decision, I just focus it on the competition, and I got a good result. And I came back. Once I came back Korea, I also was thinking how I should go for next steps, staying in Korea or going back to Australia. I was really, really, really difficult times as well to make a decisions, because Shasha also gave me the really good opportunity, and also Momos also gave me the very good opportunity. It was too good to make a decision. So anyway, I eventually make a decision to stay in Korea. But the times after competition, before the competition, it was all the things are very massive. The difference all of a sudden, it was quite impact to my life, in my whole life. I'm just being in the 33 years, but it was one of the biggest happenings in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it was really difficult for you, because when you were in Melbourne preparing for World Championships, you enjoyed Melbourne, you enjoyed being in Australia. There's many things that you enjoyed your life in Australia as well.
Yeah.
But obviously deep down you knew what the right answer was, and you knew that you needed to go there and compete, and then whatever happens afterwards. And this really comes down from your resilience as well, and like there's no excuses. I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll have before we talk a little bit about world competitions and what's actually happened today in Milan. Can you just maybe next 2-3 minutes explain how often did you train, for how long? How long was your daily session? Did you train every day, or not? A few days a week? And did you do more triangulations in one day, or like etc.?
Yeah, triangulation was kind of the routine in the last 3 years. So I didn't really have the specific time for training. Just the daily. It's not daily, but maybe at least 3 times a week. I just try to maintain the training routine, even though it's just 1 time or 2 times, doesn't matter. No matter how many times, is not very important in my idea, because our palette always has a limitation of the day. So when you do, for example, 10 hours, I don't think you can maintain the perfect sensory skills for the 10 times. So you need to take a rest as well, and you need to check the condition as well. So just maybe regularly doing the triangulation regularly is the most important, and checking your level, as what I just told you. Just checking your level, if you can make very accuracy, the high accuracy or not. So choose the level, and you just keep practicing with the levels until you correct 8. Correcting 8 is I think one of the things you need to make the aim to do, because the 6 or 7 is, for me, is quite unstable things of my life. Because sometimes you make mistake, right? You make mistake is fine with the training, but I mean, to be objective, to accurate 8 is the triangulation test is aim. So if you can correct 8 or not, no matter how hard or easy, it doesn't matter. Just correct 8, it's very important as I think. So focus on the cracking A is always give you the confidence and is in your life as well. Because when you taste it, you will get the confidence because you know the difference at least. You don't know, you might not know what it is, but at least you can identify the difference. So identifying difference means that when you dial in or when you taste coffee, you anyway catch the difference points, and you can think of the next things how you should do for the taste or quality control, whatever you do. So this is the main things of the triangulation test that I believe. So always the speed is also important, but you will tell when you do as times are getting highest, you practice more, then you will know this level is easy level or high level. So depends on the level, you can tell the time is fast or slow or is okay. So those experience when it's built up, then you will be more confident when you do the triangulation testing.
And obviously that way of thinking and way of training has worked for you very well because you arrived to Milan. I believe you arrived to Milan just day before your competition, correct? So a day and a half?
3 days ago,
yeah.
Before 3 days. Yeah.
So you did not really have that much time to settle. It was very, very new, maybe a little bit nervous. And I remember your first round was about 7 minutes, correct?
First round, 6 minutes.
6 minutes 30. So it took a lot longer than what normally you would do, or possibly longer than some other rounds, which was challenging because there were many other competitors finishing at 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So even though you got 8 out of 8 and you got it in 6:30, and there were quite few people ahead of you, how did you feel at that time? Did you feel satisfied, or what was going in your head?
The first round was my first competition. The experience on the stage, world stage, it was really, really heavier than what I expected. So much burden is in my mind and under pressure. So I had to crack 8 makes myself harder. And also it makes the coffee level higher than actual it is. So maybe the mental things is very, very involving into the, how you feel as well. So I have to overcome through the times, because I just kept thinking of the time in the last 3 years, then I can just come back to the focusing on the cracking at 8. So I just took it that confidence doing that. My head was really busy, I think. Yeah, I think people saw me, I looked very calm, but my head was really busy. Yeah.
You were not usual self, right, when you cup?
Yeah. So first round was very difficult, as it was the first time, and the second round was much faster than the first round because I already touched the point. And the third round, which is semifinal, was to get in the final round. It also the burden things to my mind, and the head was busier than the first round, and it took a longer time. So it was nearly 7 minutes 44 seconds. Because you already know, when you just miss one cup, then you just fail.
So tell me, Charlie, the third round, do you think that the reason you went 7 minutes 30 seconds or 7 minutes plus, is it because coffees were extra difficult, or your mind was a little bit more busy, or you were not as calm as you normally are?
Yeah, I think the second one. Second one is right. It's myself to make too many things, too much things.
Like when you were competing in your semifinals round, and you obviously went on a stage, and you mentioned that your head was a little bit busy. There's so much happening in here. And so you're not only challenged to see, okay, I need to choose the right coffee. As you said, you need to be mentally strong and mentally clear in order to make best decisions. And you recognize that your head was not strong and your head was a little bit busy. What are the things that you've done to make your head and to make yourself more calm? What was going in your head?
So when you do the triangulation, the difference point that you have to tell to choose the answer is sometimes very different. So normally my main key is the flavor. The flavor is the key point of the standard I make the choice. But some of the sets like Brazil natural or pop the natural and in India coffee natural, they don't have any characteristics. Seriously, they just all same because nearly almost the commercial level. So it's flavor, specific flavor is just almost the same. But body acidity, I already know that it's not accurate all the time. Depends on the temperature and how much coffee is in it is all different. So I just get rid of it. So then the main point is always a flavor. For flavor, slightly different flavor always exists in the cups. Like, for example, all the nutty cups, but one of them might be a little bit some earthy flavors will be might be inside, or even though it's the same nuts, but some of them might be peanuts, very like silver skin but tastes like. So I just try to make that difference and to make it sure. So just I thought of the three is the times, and because sometimes the coffees run out and you just scratch the bottom, but still you have to keep doing that to tell until you sure, make it sure. So I just thought of the times that I already done it many times, and I just thought of the times, and I just made the decisions to believe in myself, and that was the yeah.
All right. So to understand, most of the time when you're looking for these fine details, you'll try to rely more on the flavor rather than body or acidity, right? And now I've noticed something when you were competing, and I found that impressive, and I could not wait to talk to you. When you taste coffees, sometimes you shake your head. And at the beginning, I understand now why, but at the beginning I said, oh, maybe Charlie doesn't like it, or maybe he thinks that's not the same coffee. But then I saw you that you're shaking your head in all three coffees that you're tasting. You don't do it always, but you're doing sometimes. Can you let us know why do you shake your head when you cup coffees?
Yeah, I didn't mean to do it. I think subconsciously myself, when it's really hard, I think I try to just maximize the things I can do. Like shaking is maybe spreading all the aromatic substance maybe into the olfactory bulb. Maybe I don't know, it's touched the fastest time in all this time. I think it helps in any way. So I think I did it subconsciously.
Yeah. No, it's great. I'm gonna try that for sure. So I'll let you know how I go. I'm sure there'll be a lot more coffee professionals when they're cupping, they're shaking the head as well. So you've started a new trend. We'll see. Yeah. So let's talk about finals. I've seen you competing quite a few times, and as you say, you're always calm, and you calm even during the announcements. In the first round, you were very calm. In the second round, you were calm. In the finals, for the first 6 cups, when we were finding out if you guessed your coffees or not, for the first 6 cups, you were very calm. But then, I'd love you to take us through what was in your head. You got your 6th cup, you get 6 out of 8, and the 7th cup is about to be seen if you got it or not. Can you take us through from that moment till the moment you actually found out you got 8 out of 8? I'd love to know, because I've seen, for the first time ever, I've seen that Charlie is letting that maybe the expressions or maybe the nervousness, it's coming out. And I could see your emotions coming out, which was beautiful to see. So yeah, if you can take us through this few moments, it would be amazing.
So I cannot check the bottom because I just saw the face of the MC. So the MC's face is smiling, then I relief. I got the relief. Oh yeah, correct. And it's because when it's incorrect, he said, "Oh no, I didn't want to see the face." And also, because it's on the world stage. The reason why it took a very long time is because I thought through to make a decision. So if any cups on the table is wrong, I will be really, really sad, and maybe I might be really disappointed in myself because I already got really sure of my choice in the highest possibility. There's not always a 100% possibility, but it was my best I did. So if I fail at any cups, then I'll be very disappointed because my training, I wanted to believe my efforts. I don't want my to be betrayed. So and in the final round, got the 7 cups and 8 cups all the right. And when I realized that I won the competition, then I don't know why all the emotions just suddenly came up, and maybe I just come up with all the times past the last 3 years, how much efforts I put into for the training. Just time quickly, very fast in a short time. I'm just kept crying, and I didn't mean to cry, but I just myself it came out, and yeah, very emotional.
It was beautiful moment, and to be honest, we don't know what you were thinking, but we could feel that it meant a lot for you. You know, a lot of sacrifices. I remember talking to you prior to going to Milan. You know, trying to find a way to help you with a visa, and contacting as many people as we could, but and many people would kind of even start doubting or maybe stop training or slow down the training at that time, but you just kept going. And I'm sure that when you found out that you won, you obviously realized that decisions that you have made, even from finishing with the army and going to Melbourne and all the sacrifices and moving, and it's definitely worth it. So yeah, it was a beautiful moment. I lost my voice when you won, as we were screaming and yelling. And we are all very, very happy and very proud of what you have done in Australia. I think some things we obviously cannot control with the visa and things like that, but I think it's meant to be. It's a really nice that you are again in Korea, in your hometown, and you can actually go back to where you got inspired, and newer version of Charlie as well, and deeper version, and continue doing some amazing things. So we are very happy for you. Yeah, if there's
Thank you, Sasha.
Yeah, it was a great chat. I really enjoyed talking to Charlie as well. It was nice to understand all of your ups and downs in life, ups and downs in a coffee, and just you're very unique person, and I think many people throughout the world will get inspired with this conversation, because it's not that necessarily you need to have a lifetime of working, but it's a discipline, it's resilience, it's actually it's a hard work, and as you said, believing in yourself, and just keep pushing you more and more and more, and amazing things can happen. So there's a lot of open doors for you now, but I'd love you to, I don't know, maybe you can promise me something on this live podcast. And I'd love you to promise me that you're going to write a book or booklet about how to cup coffees and how to help all of the coffee professionals to elevate their sensory experience. So can we make a deal here or what?
All right. I can't promise I can't promise that sharing my experience and everything I can do for the people who are interested in improving themselves and triangulation test, the sensory, whatever, and in the future as well as at the only present. I'm still growing up and improving myself, so we are going to all the copy journey still is going on. So no matter when it is, I will keep doing, sharing, helping, and getting experience from the world and sharing to people. So those things, it doesn't need to be only books as well, but also other things like speaking, or seminar, whatever I do it, so I promise that point.
And the last words for listeners, people that are willing to start competing, any competition, do you have a word of advice for anyone?
Well, no matter what discipline, as long as you have a passion and you have a love on that what you do, I think just want to say focus on yourselves rather than comparing yourselves to other people. Just focusing on improving yourselves, because regardless of the result, anyway, you will improve, you will grow up, and you will learn, and you can share the things that you learn from the competition, preparing times to the worldwide people. I think just the life is you grow up is very bring you the happiness and the worst to challenges. So I think that's the most important thing. That's what I want to share as an advice.
Charlie, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I hope our listeners enjoyed the conversation. And if you'd love to hear more from Charlie, he's very active on Instagram, so I'm sure you can reach out to him and connect and learn from the man himself. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you, and I'm sure I will see you somewhere.